Hey everyone, it's Andy Kushner with The Wedding Biz. Well, last week I mentioned that I've released over 500 episodes on The Wedding Biz, and I want to give you a chance to catch up on interviews you haven't yet heard. So for that reason, and to give myself somewhat of a break after 7 years of releasing shows at least once a week, I'm going to temporarily release 2 new interviews each month starting in July. So if you want to search for a particular guest, go to theweddingbiz.com and type their name into the search field at the top of the page, and you can then listen there or note the date and scroll down in your cell phone's podcast app to find the interview that you're interested in. So if you missed last week's interview, it was with Christina Matucci about using performance and storytelling techniques to engage with impact. And today's guest, I'm very excited to say, is Tori Williams, a world-renowned luxury event curator and designer with Tori Williams Events. She has showcased her work on major television networks such as Lifetime, Bravo, and the Food Network, and is the star of VH1's original TV series, My Celebrity Dream Wedding. Tori was also named one of Atlanta's 25 most powerful and influential women by Modern Luxury's Atlantan magazine. She has produced events for notable clients such as Tyler Perry Studios, the Atlanta Ballet, City of Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, and Senator Warnock. Tori also donates her time and resources to help less fortunate women and children, all the while balancing a healthy marriage and family life. Enjoy this conversation with Tori Williams. Hey, Tori, good to have you on. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure. So, where I want to start is that so much of who we are today is shaped by our childhood. And I wonder if there was any kind of pivotal moment in yours that might have had something to do with shaping who you are today and being in the career that you're in. Like when you were growing up, did you have any interest? I know you had started, we'll get to it in a minute, when you were a teenager in hair and makeup. Was that an interest, or what was it like growing up?
Growing up it was great actually. I would say my grandmother played a large part in what I'm doing today. She had me involved in every activity possible when I was in elementary and junior high school and in high school actually. So I think that played a large part in it. She also liked to host different parties and things, and even just things around the house. When we would have gatherings or family over, or if she was just cooking for us, it was always a event. She always put out flowers.
Yeah, an experience.
Yeah, it was always an experience. So I think now later, I don't think in the beginning I realized that, but I think just after some time, just looking back, I think she played, I know she played a large role in that as well. And even with my dress code and things of that nature, she definitely played a major role in that for me.
That's great. Well, so I understand that I believe you grew up in Memphis. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you started your career as a licensed hair and makeup artist, like from 15 or 16 years old. Is that right?
Yeah, I took it as just an extra trade in high school. You know how I had finished a lot of my curriculum, my just regular classroom curriculums early, and I had like afternoons and couldn't go home. So they was like, what do you want to do? You want to take up a trade? So I was like, yeah, I'll just go to cosmetology school. I think it'll be fun. So I started in high school and I started collecting the hours there. And then after I graduated, I went ahead and finished up, and I ended up earning my master cosmetology license where I can do any type of hair service, makeup service, skin service, nail service, just pretty much anything. And I still actually hold that license to today.
But you got that license how old were you when you got that?
When I finally got that license, I think I was like 19 or 20.
Wow.
It was early on. Yeah.
Yeah, you're a go-getter from an early age. Well,
Yeah.
so why and when did you transition into event planning and design?
I was later on in the years, and try not to tell my age too much.
So it was that long. So it was a lot later.
It was later in my years. I think I was around, it was after I got engaged, I was probably like 32, 33, somewhere up in there. And it was one of those things that I love. Like I was always the friend that all of my girlfriends and my family would call when they wanted to do an event. I was like, okay, you guys, we're going to do this and we're going to make it fun. And not even really thinking about it as a career at that time. After some time, and I think around the time when I got engaged, with doing with doing glam services, I started doing a lot of weddings. So at that time, I was listening to a lot of brides and clients that would tell me all the good things and the bad things that they didn't like about their planner or the process of weddings. And I was just listening. And then, of course, on the day of their wedding, I would be there. I would be there for their ceremony and usually get them into the reception because usually they do some type of hair change or I'm having to touch up makeup from crying and everything else. So I got to be behind the scenes and learn a lot. And I met a lot of people along the way. So I just kind of sat back and was just a sponge and learned. So when the opportunity came, when I was getting married, it dawned on me like, oh, these are the things that they're talking about. And believe it or not, I started having some of the issues that they were discussing. And but I learned from it. It was a lot that I already knew. I did have a planner, but that relationship with us wasn't that well, but it was fine. We worked through it and I learned a lot. I read a lot of contracts. I asked a lot of questions and people were willing to answer my questions. So after that process was over, I was like, I think this is something that I would probably like and enjoy doing. So I took up my first event, which was it was just a birthday party. And from there, while I was doing that event, I met another client there that was getting engaged and they asked me, did I do weddings? I was like, yeah. So it just, honestly, it took off faster than me. That's the best way I can tell you. It literally, I had to catch up with the business. I started getting so much business so fast. And the main thing that I learned is that at the time now, I think that God was really preparing me for what I was doing, what I'm doing today. So I think all that time of doing the glam service and meeting with clients and talking with brides and meeting vendors was kind of my training and preparation for where I am today.
But why? I mean, without being too humble, I mean, I really want to know, why do you think it took off so quickly? Like, what were you doing that would attract clients to you like that?
I think it's more the experience. I think it's the experience that I offer because anybody can do planning, right? And everybody do design, but I think it's bigger than that. I think it goes into how you make your clients feel because it's an emotional purchase at the end of the day, and you're involved in like some of the most memorable parts of their life when people are having milestone birthday parties or when they're getting married or when they're having a baby for the first time. Those are milestone things. That is things that are really important to clients. So when you give them an experience and you make them feel special and it's a great experience for them, they remember that. And they share that with other people, and those other people want to book your services for that. And it's a bonus that you know what you're doing, and you make their event really beautiful. So I think all plays hand in hand.
Yeah, you know what I'm thinking of while you're saying this too is that I believe that while you're working with your clients and your clients are working with you, their experience, that is an experience in of itself. Like not even the event itself, but like, right? I mean, you're spending months, maybe a year or more with these people. And I would guess that was a lot of why you were able to connect, that you connected with these people so much personally and got close to them, that was an experience for them, just that part of it.
Yes. I often find with a lot of my brides when it's over, they be like, oh my God, Tori, I am so sad that this is over.
Right.
Like, I really wish I can do this part over again. So, yeah, I think that plays a large part in it. It's just the experience and the service that you give to your client. And to me, that's more important than the decor, excuse me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, and I'm not surprised about this. You've also maintained a very successful career for a very long time. I mean, you've had your work showcased on several major television networks, and I'm wondering, it's one thing it's one thing to get to that level, and people tend to think that, okay, you've arrived and, Tori is known and she's got all this going on and life must be so nice. It's one thing to get there. It's another thing to stay there, isn't it? Especially in today's market. It's so damn competitive.
Mm-hmm. It very much is.
So what do you think? I mean, First of all, in terms of the television networks, like what has that been like for you to be able to showcase your work in that way, and how, I don't know if you're able to put this in words, short enough in a podcast, but it's like how did you get to that point, and what is that experience like for you?
I would say, first of all, getting to that point was I didn't go looking for it. They found every time I've done television,
Mm-hmm.
they have found me through social media or through a referral. I remember my first television show I ever did was a wedding special for a show that was on Lifetime. It was Little Women Atlanta. And one of the girls on there, the cast member, was getting married. And they literally like contacted me, and I wasn't even answering the phone at first. I didn't, well, of course, I didn't realize it was them, but it was like maybe 3 days that they've been calling, and I wasn't answering the phone because I didn't know the number. So I finally
Yeah,
picked it
right.
up.
Right.
Yeah, I thought it was a telemarketer, but I finally picked up the phone and we talked, and it came out the next day, and they interviewed me. And then maybe like a couple of days later, we filmed just as a test run to see how everything would go. Then I got the job. It went very fast. Within like 2 weeks, I was in another state doing this wedding.
Wow.
So, and that went, yeah, that went very well. And then after that, I think once you do kind of do television, you kind of get swift into this pool. Like everybody kind of knows you, like, oh, like
Right.
I heard you did this. And so it
Right.
just kind of took off from there. And then by the time they contacted me for my television show, my celebrity dream weddings, I was already very comfortable. I had done television a few times, just cameo appearances on different shows, showcasing my events and just the work that I do. So it just, for me, it only made sense. I wanted to build my brand even more. And of course, it opened me up worldwide to people seeing the work that I do. And it actually worked out for me. It was fun. It's definitely an experience. It's a lot, but it is great.
Yeah, my understanding is that, I mean, I know someone who I have an entertainment company, and so I was doing a lot of luxe weddings and flying all over the place, and I remember there was one in particular, one planner and designer who was doing a lot on TV and was pretty well known. And he was saying that it was incredibly difficult. like he was just exhausted from the whole process. But it sounds like for you, I mean, is it that way, or is it really, you had a lot of fun with it? And
It's a little bit of both. Because one, you're doing your regular job. So you are planning and executing, you're dealing with a client and everything else. But then also you're shooting a television show. So it's like you're doing two jobs in one. And that can get a little stressful. I'm assuming you're talking about David.
yes,
When it
David
comes to,
Tutera. Yeah, I did.
yes.
Yeah, I did a ton of parties with him. Yeah, I was on TV with him. I did a bride's thing at Disney World. Yeah, I mean, tons of
Yeah.
stuff.
So it tends to get a little nutty. I think for me, when we started filming our television show, My Celebrity Dream Wedding, we had to film 20 episodes. I think for
Whoa.
me, it was pretty stressful. It was 9 months of filming at the time. I had my venue in Atlanta, and then I also had other outside clients. So my life was a little chaotic. Well, I won't
Yeah.
say a little, it was chaotic, to say the least. But I made it through, and I think looking back on it, it was one of those experiences where I wouldn't trade it. I learned a lot. Number one, I met some really incredible people. Number two, and number three, it helped my business. It helped me and my business and my brand still. So I just feel like everything is a learning experience. And I mean, anytime you have anything that's really, really great, you're going to have some challenges. I won't say not so great things. I'm going to say some challenges along the way, but that's part of the
Right.
process. That's how you grow.
Right.
So
That's how you frame it. You got to frame it that way. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so, so you're doing a lot of destination in terms of weddings. I know you do all kinds of events, but as far as weddings, you're doing a lot of destination weddings now. Is that mostly what you do?
Well, I'm in a space where I am doing a lot of everything. So it's not just weddings. I think I've taken less weddings and getting more into larger productions. I just recently did an event for the Atlanta Ballet, and this is my second year doing their annual ball, which is a really big deal. I did an award show. I've done like live podcast events. I'm actually in LA right now working on another project. So I try not to put myself in a box as a wedding planner or someone to just do parties. I think at the state that I am in my career now, where I'm opening myself up to just a variety of just big productions because I'm not really doing a lot of smaller things. Most people call me because they want the big, over the top, extravagant events, regardless of what it is, if they're social or corporate.
Well, and we're talking about, I mean, diversification, and I know for me, when I hit recessions and the pandemic, well, I can't count the pandemic, but in terms of recessions and stuff like that, I remember there were certain times when, the weddings would go, but the corporate stayed, and then the other way around, the corporate would go, but the weddings would stay. And so it seems to me that it's good to have a good balance.
Yeah, it is very, and I think so. And I think it's great to have that as a challenge for you as well. Because sometimes when you get used to just doing one thing, it's fine. It becomes a little repetitive. And I feel like sometimes the creativity may stop a little bit.
Yeah,
For certain people.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like the challenge of doing different things. Recently I just did my first live podcast event for one of my clients. And yes, of course, I was responsible for the decor, which is for her set design, but then I also helped with the production side of it. So that was new and that was challenging for me. And I was very proud of myself because with myself and her team, we actually pulled it off. Everything turned out great.
That's great. I've been asked where I gained the inspiration and expertise to host this show, The Wedding Biz, and it all comes from my own experience in the weddings and event industry of creating world-class entertainment to support our custom entertainment design. Kushner Entertainment features outrageously dynamic bands, strings, and a host of other entertainment acts that have won numerous international, national, and local to the Washington, D.C. area awards. Not only for individual acts, such as the band Sound Connection, but also for our highly engaging and captivating entertainment design concepts. Go to KushnerEntertainment.com to learn more about the ultimate in event entertainment. That's KushnerEntertainment.com. What is the creative side of this for you? I'm wondering what that's like. If there's any particular way that you get your ideas, your vision, like after you've spoken to the client and whether it's corporate and it's a branded kind of an event or whatever it is you're doing, in terms of the creative side of it, is there anything you can say about that? I mean, like I know for myself, it doesn't stop. I'll get ideas first thing in the morning, the middle of the night. I'll be taking a walk. I'm constantly like taking notes and stuff. I mean, what is it like for you?
Oh my God, it's the same for me. I can get inspiration and people probably think I'm insane when I say this, but I can literally listen to a song and plan a whole event around a song.
Wow.
That I'm listening to. Yeah.
Do you mean that the song inspires you or you're saying something about?
Yeah. So sometimes a song will inspire me. If I've talked to a client and they're having a particular event, and of course, a lot of them leave it up to me to decide exactly how this event is going to look at this point now, which is a great thing for me. A lot of clients don't give me direction. They're like, "Oh, Tori, we trust you. You're going to come up with it. So we'll just see you on the day of." I'm like, okay, that's great, but that's a little, it can be a little nerve wracking sometimes. But
unusual.
Yeah. So with some of that, I can literally, like for one client, I'll say in particular, I was trying to figure out a vision for their event. And I know I listened to the issues that they had with their prior events, and this is them bringing me on to try to create something new for them. So I was actually driving back from a trip on the road, and it was a couple of songs came on, and I don't know what it is, just something triggered in me. Of course, I played that song like 15 times while I was driving.
I get it.
But over and over again. But as I was listening to it, it strikes something in me visually to where I can start putting it together. Like I literally came up with the colors, the entertainment and everything just based off of listening to a song.
Oh, I love that. Well, especially being a musician, I love hearing that.
Yeah. Of course, travel. I have been blessed to travel all around the world, and I see a lot of different things. So I may see a building, I may see a piece of architect that may strike something in me, be like, "Oh my God, that would be cool to, create something just similar to this." So I may take out. I'll always try to keep like little notepads or a sketch pen or something in my purse where I can quickly take a picture and sketch, or take a pencil and like sketch out a design or something right away.
Can you tell me a story, Tori, like maybe of whether it's a wedding or not, just a favorite, one of your favorite events that you've ever done, and just, describe, what you designed for it. Can you think of something in particular when I ask that?
One is a wedding. The other one is a kind of corporate event. And I'll go with the corporate event first because that's quicker. So I recently, well, last year, did an event for a client, and he wanted to have an award show to highlight entrepreneurs in business. So I'm all for that because I like for people to get their flowers for what they're doing. So he wanted to create something. He gave me absolutely no direction, no colors, no anything. So I had to come up with the food
Wow.
menu, what the event was going to look like, where we're going to have it. And I had this one particular place in mind. I went by myself to take a look at it, and I just kind of stood in the room and I was just like, okay, we're going to completely transform this place. And I had this idea when talking to the client. He was just like, well, we would like to have like a vault activation. I was like, what do you mean a vault? He was like, if we could have like a money vault that people, that maybe we can have as a photo booth op, if it's a backdrop picture of a vault or whatever the case may be. And I was like, okay. So after listening to everything that he wanted and looking at the venue, I was like, you know what? I'm going to figure out how to build a vault for the stage. We're going to actually build a vault, and they're going to actually come. We're going to open a door, and they're going to come out through that vault. And um, after a lot of back and forth emails, phone calls, text messages, pictures, sketches, and everything else, I was able to have that vault built. It was a 10 by 10 vault door that actually rotated. And on the day of it, we put a LED screen behind it so it can look like they was actually inside of a
Huh.
vault. And they actually walked through it and came out. And it was amazing just to see the reaction of the guests that was in the crowd. Of course, we did a lot of other things, but that was one of my favorites. So, so now I got to figure out something for this year that's going to
Yeah, right.
be
What do you do next?
more of a
Yeah.
highlight than what I did. Right, exactly. The other one was a wedding. It was actually a friend of mine, so it was more personable. She wanted, and she just completely left it up to me. I mean, even with the colors, the only color request that she had was black. So when I went out to our venue and I looked at everything, and I was just like, okay, this is going to be beautiful. So um, I incorporated like nude blacks and like more earth tone colors and like greenery and everything. And she trusted me completely. She didn't see anything. She didn't ask any questions, and that's the first for a bride. Like it was complete trust. She didn't see anything until the day of the wedding.
Oh,
But
gee.
yeah. So, and it's always a thing like, oh, I know she's going to love it. But then on the day of, when she's standing at the door to do the room reveal, I'm like, oh my God, I hope she loves it. Yeah.
Yeah. What was her response?
She cried. Like she cried so hard, it made me cry. Like everybody in the room was crying. Her husband, who
Aw.
she had just married, he was crying. Like the reaction was so genuine. It was so heartfelt. Like they were genuinely so happy, and it was just really heartfelt. So I think just from a personal standpoint for me, that was great. But the design was beautiful. We did so many flowers. We had flowers everywhere, cascading down the staircase where she came down when she walked down the aisle. We did flowers, of course, down the aisle. We had flowers. We had flowers everywhere. I did big cherry blossom trees. I went a little nuts. So it was definitely it was a lot of money spent on florals. A lot of money spent on florals. I'll say that. But it was a beautiful, beautiful wedding, and she was such a beautiful bride.
Oh, sounds wonderful. Earlier you were saying, when you were talking about the other one, the corporate with the vault, and what are you going to do next? That's what it's like for me. I've been doing what I've been doing for a long time, decades, and I need a challenge.
Yeah.
I need challenges every once in a while, right? I mean, the artistic part is so I don't know what the word would be. It's just sensitive and but more than sensitive, right? That to me, that's what it's mostly about is the that part. But then at the same time, you've got a business to run. And Tori, I'm wondering, like, how do you view the business aspect of what you do, especially, again, you are very diversified. You're traveling all over the place. You've done a lot of TV too. What about the business side of it? How do you feel about that?
The business side is the most important thing. You have to have great business ethics. You have to have a great team. You have to have structure. You have to have a plan. So when it comes to business, I feel like if your business is not together, I don't see how you could succeed with the other part.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think for me, that's the most important thing. You have to have a solid team. You have to have a dedicated team. You have to have a professional team. You have to have structure within your business. It does not operate well if you don't have structure. So for me, those things are very important. The professionalism, the way that you dress, the way you look. Even for me, my team, the way that they show up on event day when they're going to be physically
Yes.
present in front
Yes.
of other people is very important to me. How I show up to the world is very important to me because I'm representing my business. I'm representing the brand. So I that's something that I don't sacrifice at all. I don't care how tired I am. I don't care how long I've been on my feet. I don't care if I've been up 2 days. I'm going to show up and my team is going to show up.
Yeah, I've had issues about that I've had to deal with, and because I agree with you. I mean, I think that the smallest details all add up to represent the brand. One more thing I want to say about that too. You were saying just a little bit earlier about structure, how important structure is. There was one planner I interviewed. I don't remember exactly who it was, but I remember it stuck with me. He said that for him, creating the business structure is the most creative act he can do. That is just doing that is a creative act to create your structure, which gave me, and that helped me to take away the negativity that I had associated with it, and to look at it as more of an artistic endeavor to create the structure as opposed to being, so frustrated with it. It seemed that made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely creative. The structure is the most important part because that's how your business runs. That tells you everything you need to know about a person's business to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that structure part, and you can be creative with it, and you can be as tedious as you need to be with that. And I think I am. I think a lot of times with certain businesses, they don't want to do the extra small things that make a big impression, and I think that's more important for me. So it's like, yeah, it may take a little extra time, but I know the impact that it's going to have, so we're going to do it.
I love what you're saying. Yeah. Now you offer workshops, right? Can you tell me about that?
Yes. So I've recently just started back up. I did it a few years ago prior to COVID, but after COVID I kind of slowed down on it. But now I'm in a place where I'm picking it back up. I just hosted webinars and a challenge week. And that was great. Overall I had 32,000 people to subscribe.
Oh my
I think
God.
yeah, so it was a little
Wow.
insane. I think between the webinars and the challenge week, we had well over, I think, like 12,000 people total.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I
Uh-huh.
have this workshop.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I have this workshop that is coming up. Well, I'm hosting one soon, and then I have another one coming up the latter part of the year. And basically, what that is a 3 day in person workshop where we teach you, myself and my team, we give you everything, teach you everything that you need to know, not just about the design, but about business. So we chime in on for people that are just starting out. We give them like the business 101, just telling them everything they need to do to start their business and how to get started. We teach a marketing class. We teach a um, event production class, which is your event planning, your wedding planning, and everything else. We teach design. We also teach all of the florals. So we educate you on florals and mechanics as well. And then we also have, which is one of the most important things to me, we teach about pricing because I know pricing is one of those things that is so hard for so many people to figure out.
Oh,
So
yeah,
we do
sure.
a good pricing class. And then now I have incorporated a self-care class. And I think that's very important because in this business, as you know, you give a lot of yourself for other people. Part of it is servicing other people. So sometimes you can get burnt out with that. So I have came up with a class that teaches you about self-care, mental health, just so you're not burning yourself out and you're taking
Love that.
time for yourself, which I think is very important.
Yes.
So, yeah, so we teach that. And then also you get the hands on experience with learning how to execute flowers design and just a whole full room transformation as well.
Wow. Well, I'm assuming because at the end of this, I'll give out your website and social media. All that. I'm assuming all that's in your website, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. The ToriWilliamsEvents.com.
Yes.
So also, Tori, just a couple more questions. What topics do you give keynotes on? Because I believe you speak a lot. Isn't that right?
Yes, I do speak a lot. Typically, I talk about, of course, the event and production world. A lot of people want to know about the events, the designs that I do. A lot of people want to know about how to break into the luxury industry or dealing with celebrity clients. I think that's one of the major things that a lot of people like to talk to me about. Of course, television. And then that's the other thing is just the business in general. I think a lot of people love to hear about my journey in this and also the next direction that I'm headed in after this. Like, what would be the next thing for me?
Well, that's my last question.
Oh, okay.
What seriously, it's like what are you dreaming about? You've accomplished so much, you've done so much. Like what's left for you? What is it that you dream about?
At this point in my career, and someone asked me this recently, but I think I am moving to a place where I do only want to do large productions, but I only want to do maybe 2 or 3 a year where I can dedicate a lot of time into creating or curating a massive experience for clients. And also, education is really big for me now. So it's educating others on this business. So any planners, designers, florists, anybody that owns venues or just in the realm, if they do rentals or any of that, just helping people with their businesses is more of my thing now. So just educating people.
Yeah, got it. I got it. Well, geez, this has been really wonderful. We covered a lot in a short period of time. So thank you, Tori, for coming on to the show. I appreciate you taking the time for this. Yeah.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Thank you for listening to my conversation with Tori Williams. Be sure to check out her website, which is ToriWilliamsEvents.com. You can find her on Instagram at Tori Williams Events. And be sure to check out the show notes with the event pics that she has provided at our website of theweddingbiz.com. And if you can share this interview with 3 good friends who you feel would really enjoy it, please go ahead and forward it to them. And if you could also leave a review wherever you get your podcast from with a top rating and review, it really helps new people find the show. And finally, next week's guests it's actually 2 guests. It's going to be Carrie and Jennifer with Lavender and Rose. And finally, you can follow us on Instagram at The Wedding Biz, and we'll catch you next week.